start. We had a very good discussion today in the House about this legislation. As you know, the Honorable Prime Minister's goal is to reform India, to transform India. This legislation is one of those transformational building blocks that will actually be able to transform our economic landscape. Through the legislation, we have redressed the balance of power between promoters and creditors. It is a big transformation. We have gone from a situation where the winding up and resolution process would last from 3 to 10 years and from 180 to 190 days. We have gone from a situation where we had 12 laws that pertain to the bankruptcy where you have just one law. Some of these laws, which were more than 100 years old, have been replaced by a modern 21st century law, which is as good as anywhere else in the world. Through the information utilities, there will be a lot of transparency and a lot of knowledge as to what is happening, who is in distress and who is not in distress. In that sense, we will be also creating industry with the bankruptcy board and the insolvency professionals. This is indeed a major transformation. The other thing that we have done here is we have put employees at the top in terms of protection of rights. There was another question that was asked to the government comes after employees in secured creditors in this waterfall. Obviously, employees are most dependent and most vulnerable. So we put the most dependent and the most vulnerable taxpayers' money ahead of the government. As far as creditor rights are concerned, they are able to trigger default, and because they are able to trigger default, and when the default happens, promoter comes last, and this transfers the balance of power from promoters to creditors. In doing so, of course, this also strengthens the corporate debt market so that creditors can then issue debts with a better understanding of the risks that they have to deal with, which means a better pricing of the risks. We also believe that this will lead to a much broader, deeper, more liquid corporate bond market as well. So, it significantly strengthens the corporate debt market. Now, the fact that we are going to put in place this very robust bankruptcy process, hopefully, it will reduce the need for personal guarantees because you would be able to recover loans in the bankruptcy process. Several members asked about information utilities as to why is it that we need information utilities. The reason is, as I said earlier, we have a very fragmented, opaque insolvency and bankruptcy process that is scattered across different legislations and many adjudicating authorities. By putting in place these well-regulated information utilities and by forcing people to deliver information to these information utilities, we will have transparency in terms of who is borrowing, how much he is borrowing, and what is his exposure across the system, and an early warning signals to understand as to who could potentially be in distress and whether willful default is happening. By having these information utilities, we prevent these kinds of situations. Finally, there were a lot of members who spoke about willful defaulters. Willful defaulters are being identified. Over 7,000 willful defaulters have been identified, FIRs have been filed against them, and the process for identifying willful defaulters, going after them, and taking criminal action against them is very well defined. It is a parallel process from the bankruptcy process, and they will both continue to operate as we would like. One honorable member wanted to know why is it that we are not able to create more jobs. We are in fact creating jobs. A lot of jobs are being created in the informal sector through initiatives such as Mudra, what we are doing in construction, in public investment, and so on. But I would like to conclude by reminding the honorable member that it is precisely this type of transformational legislation which will enable the kind of creative destruction that will enable the creation to these jobs. One honorable member has asked as to what process we have to follow in order to bring into our country the foreign assets of a company which has been undergoing the bankruptcy process in our country. I would like to tell him that even the bill mentions in detail that we have to enter into cross-border treaties for this purpose. With this law, the probability of bringing in those assets rises a lot.